future brides, once you've chosen your dress, do not look at photographs. The Cashel Palace is so exquisite as it is. It's kind of going above and beyond. It exceeded all of our expectations.
Weddings are an industry built around creating an experience, but often we only hear from one side of the story, the supplier's side. How we position, how we price, how we operate, how we deliver. But rarely do we step in the perspective of the most important person, the clients. So today I'm sitting down with someone who has lived the entire journey from planning to booking to experiencing it all on the day. Zoe, one of our brides who celebrated her wedding at the gorgeous Cashel Palace and is just coming up to your second anniversary.
Yes.
How exciting. But before we get into it, we're going to start with a little honesty.
Okay.
Now, I didn't share these with you before, just because I want to make sure we get all of it. So it's just 3 questions.
Okay.
And the only catch is you can only say yes or no. No explaining, yes or no. So let's spill the tea. Zoe, did you ever feel overwhelmed when choosing your suppliers?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think social media influenced your decisions more than you anticipated?
Yes.
Okay, interesting. Did you book anyone and later question if they were the right choice for you?
No.
Wow.
Absolutely not. Oh, sorry. No.
Amazing. That's interesting. Okay, so for this one, you're allowed to elaborate a little.
Okay.
When you think about your wedding as a whole, what did a luxury experience mean to you? Mm-hmm. And can you give me an example of when you really felt it?
Yes. I think when planning the wedding, I had a certain idea of the finished look or the finished product or how, the room would be presented. But I think it was when my suppliers went that little bit above and beyond for me. Like my florist, Tony, for example, he just nailed that brief so beautifully. But not only did he present the flowers to me the morning of the wedding, he went to the church, decorated the church, brought all the flowers back to the Cashel Palace, decorated the ballroom, and then the very next day for our day 2, he came back again and redecorated all for our in the secret garden for our day 2. So I think it was all of those little details where the supplier just goes above and beyond more than
what
you could
were
have expecting.
Yeah.
And Andrew and I often talk about how you and Dan were our almost wedding coordinators on the day. You knew where everyone needed to be at any point in time, way more than we did. So it was just, again, it's coming back to how not just the finished look, but how the suppliers made us feel on the day. And, our gorgeous makeup artist and hairstylist, just sitting down with them, keeping me so calm. Something that I'll always remember. The day goes by so quickly. So when it's just those little things, those little touches. And I remember when we went, after we got married, we went back up to the bridal suite and there was a framed photograph of Andrew and I standing at the steps of the Cashel Palace that was taken, one of the very first photos that were taken, and it was printed and left in our suite by the Cashel Palace and the team.
Yeah.
So it was all of those tiny little touches that actually, looking back, it was like my suppliers just went above and beyond for me.
I often joke with Adrian that he is my second photographer.
It was Adrian that took our photo.
Yes. That's beautiful because we often talk on this podcast, and in our last episode, we talked about what luxury really means. And, you talked about how you actually experienced it, not only through the product that was delivered, which is what you and Andrew paid for when, your flowers, but it was how your florist made you feel every step of the way. How Cashel Palace delivered that photograph and that you got to see it printed, on your first day as a married couple. I feel like sometimes we often talk about luxury as just this huge opulence.
Yes.
And sometimes it can we can miss the point of what it truly means to offer a luxury service. So hearing from you as a bride that the experience that the suppliers provided is what stayed with you, as well as the beautiful flowers. Your room looked incredible. And I'll put a photo here so you all can see. It looked beautiful, but it's, him going back and redecorating other spaces that, you weren't expecting is what stayed with you.
Absolutely. It's kind of going above and beyond. And I think looking back, the day it exceeded all of our expectations in every single way. So no, it was truly, truly
also
beautiful.
Got the most beautiful weather.
Because I think it rained for all of April that year. And then just on that brief weekend, the sun came out for us. We were so
Even
lucky.
just thinking of the light and how beautiful it looked. A photograph come to mind from your wedding when we went out, when all the guests had gone inside and we went to the front, and it was kind of like golden hour starting and it was hitting you so beautifully. And then you and Andrew were walking down the steps and I shot from behind this beautiful black and white photograph. It's one of my favorite photos. And I just remembered it now. The light was beautiful. And during cocktail hour, everyone just had such a great time.
It was brilliant. I think I got a bit sunburnt.
Yeah, you would have. But sorry, I would love for people to understand a little bit about you, your story. I feel like that's such a great place to start. Before we get deeper into you as your own wedding planner, I would love to understand you a little more. So can you tell us a little bit about what you do, and how you and Andrew came to be this wonderful couple?
So I'm a contracts manager for a large utility company.
Not a wedding planner.
Not a wedding planner, very far from it. I've recently completed my master's degree in UCD in environmental sustainability.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It only took me 4 years to do, but I graduated there in December. So actually, Andrew was introduced to me by a very close friend, Clodagh, back in March 2019, I think it was. It was St. Patrick's night, and Andrew and I were at the same party, and he went to shake my hand and he knocked over my
I think I'm starting to remember the speeches.
my bottle of red wine. So I was like, okay, he kind of has to talk to me now. And that was kind of it from there. Yeah.
Now, I know from working with you that something that was really important was photography.
Yes.
You're a photographer yourself.
No, I wouldn't say that. I'd like to think I am.
I know when you first emailed, and I am going to read your first email because I thought it was so interesting going back in a more analytical way. Okay. But I remember you mentioned that you had traveled the world and photography had become this hobby that you loved so much. What made photography so important to you for your wedding?
So Andrew and I often talk about it. When planning our wedding, there was 3 key things that I immediately wanted to book and secure. And that was our venue, our band, and our photographer. In my early 20s, I used to be cabin crew with a Middle Eastern Airlines. So I traveled all over the world. And I discovered the love of photography, and it's capturing moments that you'll never capture again. For me, and it was just that creativity of finding those fleeting moments in time. And I know for our wedding, the day just goes by so quickly. There's so much that goes into planning a wedding. There's so much that happens on the day. And to find professionals that has that skill set to really just capture those moments so beautifully was something that was really, really important to me. And also just for me to have my own maybe input into how I would like those moments captured, particularly the bridal shots. And I think for any bride, my advice would be just give yourself that 25 minutes that you're completely untouched. Your hair is perfect, your shoes are perfect, your dress, veil, everything is completely untouched. And just to capture those moments, because after that, you are going to be hugging, jumping, running. You know, the wind is going to be blowing. Things are going to get messed up. Your shoes are going to get dirty. I know I actually, when I was walking down the aisle, I actually ripped the end of my dress because I stood on it. So like things are just going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's those bridal shots that are my favorite. I know Andrew isn't in them, but that's okay.
No, he did get his groom shots as well, which he loved. He loved
He's a natural in front of the camera. People think I am, but no, it's really him.
Yeah, he did enjoy it. And it's funny because a lot of our grooms, they'll be like, oh, no, like just whatever she wants. But it is so nice to be able
Grooms
to
love the attention just as
really
much as the
think
brides
so.
do.
Yeah, they like to
Absolutely.
play it down, but as soon as you show them a photo behind the camera, like they're just like, oh my God. And then they start posing and they really get into it. And I love it. I love it because I think bridal portrait is one of my favorite things to capture. You'll know that I loved that you allowed time in your schedule so that we could do those, but that you also could have a moment to yourself, which I believe is really important as well. Like you said, everything looks pristine. Everything's perfect. I think so much went into it. I know a lot of guys don't do this, but I know myself, I was a year getting facials. I was a year doing all of this, growing my hair out, all of these things that you do for pretty much a year before for these portraits. So it's one of the things that I want to make sure that it's not rushed, that we have time to do. And I was so thankful that you allowed that because Cashel Palace, again, the room is so beautiful. You looked just incredible. Your dress, your hair, your makeup, everything was perfect.
It took a village. Honestly, Dawn and Danielle they just did
Everybody
such
looking
a
at
beautiful
this, they're not
job.
going to believe it took a village. I mean, look at her. But yeah, it was a really beautiful moment. Just you in your dress, your mom helping you.
It was my mum that actually picked my dress.
That's right.
Yes. The very first dress I tried
great
on.
Taste.
I know. In the one. We tried that dress on and that was it.
And it was perfectly you as well. I love when this happens, that like a bride really does find the perfect dress for your body, but also your personality. I mean, it was just the most classic, but with a little bit of an edge.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's you. And I loved it. I loved how when you stepped outside the steps in Cashel and the light really picked that sheer part of your dress, it was just stunning.
Oh, thank you.
It is a little interesting to hear from you because we usually never get to hear back. And I do love when brides keep in touch. Thank you for keeping in touch all these 2 years.
Oh no, I'm such a fangirl of all of your brides that you capture.
But I went back a little bit to look at, how you found us, your first email, how that whole interaction went. And I'd love to read it. So I'll read a little bit from your email. You said, "Hello, Jess. By a way of introduction, my name is Zoe, hailing from the premier county that is Tipperary. I absolutely adore your work. I would thoroughly enjoy working with you to capture creative, fun, and elegant photographs of our special day." Now, when you listen to that now, what were you feeling at that stage of the planning process?
I remember I think it was around January time.
Yes.
So
10th of January.
10th of January. So I remember I was in the throes of my master's as well. I was studying and I said, I'm going to park this now and I'm going to book everything that I need to book. My three main things: the venue, band, and the photographer. So I probably spent, I would say, hours going through different photography portfolios. I went through different websites and I was on Instagram and I found you through Gabby's
Instagram.
Yes. Gabby's Instagram. I just saw, I don't know, was it a tagged photo or on her page? But I'll show you this photo later. It was exquisite. So I found your page and I'd never heard of you guys. And I went through your work and I was just blown away. The way the couples were captured, the light, the editorial feel. I went then onto your website, and I can just remember there's this beautiful black and white photograph of a bride. She's facing the window, but she's slightly looking back. And it was that photo that sold me. And that's when I put in the inquiry. I just couldn't believe just this work. Not only did I go through your profile, I went through your tagged photos as well, just to see, I know a lot of Instagram, it's the more polished, it's your portfolio. So I went onto the tagged where it might not be, the photos that you choose for your profile. And again, every single photo was just the colors, it was just beautiful.
That's so interesting, because I actually never thought that people go and check those. So it is interesting to hear from a bride that you actually went and you checked those tagged photos. Now, if you don't mind me asking, did you know at that time what style of wedding photography you were looking for?
For me, something that was elegant, timeless, that wasn't necessarily on trend with anything. It was a look that years to come, when I look back, I'll be like, wow, they were my wedding photos. And like today, I was just going through our album and I was just trying to choose some photographs for the podcast today. And I think the more I look through my album and our online and our actual physical album, the more photos I find that I love. I think initially you're given, your kind of sneak peek, but it's actually when you come back to them after a few months, I see more photos that I didn't maybe pay attention to. Yeah. So every time I'm just,
and it's funny because I find that with our own wedding photos as well, that, we're celebrating this August 14 years. And then we did our 10-year vow renewal. But every time I look back at those photos, they mean a little more to me. Yes. And I find that I'm captivated by, different moments that I didn't pay that much attention to. And that now I'm like, oh my God, like I missed this one and I love this photograph. Yeah. So when you found us through, Instagram, Gabby's Instagram, thanks, Gabby. And you went back and you looked through tagged photos, you looked through all the photos on Instagram, and then you went and you looked at the website because you wanted to see more of a portfolio. What was it for you that, sold you in? Because from your first email, you're like, I want to work with you. And funny enough, you sent me a DM straight after as well, saying that you had filled the questionnaire online. And what was about, our work itself? Because we hadn't met personally yet. And I often think my personality really sells it. But what was it that really sold Under the Veil for you?
Jess, from the very first moment that you made contact with us, it was just the customer service that you gave. We were so impressed. You immediately responded within maybe a day or two, thankfully free, and immediately wanted to book in a call with us to understand who we are as a couple. And I had never expected that, where you would take the time to actually get to know us, to understand our, vision or what we would like, and to really, take that on for us. And not only that, but even in the lead up to the wedding, it was the emails that you would send with the schedule of, where people need to be, what photos matter most to you. It was truly exceptional. And I think looking back, I didn't need a planner because I had not only Linda and the amazing Cashel Palace, but I had you. And we often joke about that. And it was having just the attention to detail and elements that I would have never even thought of. So it was from that very first touch point, and those first impressions, I believe, are so important.
Yeah, and funny enough, like for Dan and I, it is something that we love doing. We love getting to know clients before they become our couples, to understand exactly what it is that you want to create. Every wedding is unique. Every couple is unique.
Yeah.
What's important to you and Andrew, may be different to what's important to another couple. So understanding that, but then also to be able to create a proposal that, took into consideration everything that was important to you, the size of your wedding, if you're getting ready. And thankfully, you and Andrew were in Cashel Palace. The church was right there. Everything was close, but understanding what was important to you and just as important, what was important to Andrew as well. I know I even looked back at that in my notes, and you guys had something that was so important was, the experience of your guests at your wedding. It was a priority to you and Andrew, getting beautiful photos, but also having a great time.
Absolutely. Looking back throughout the planning process, I kind of took it in two perspectives. One from a guest perspective and the fun and the entertainment. That's, that's just what makes a wedding. And then from my perspective, and I suppose Andrew's as well, but we'll see. But it was from my perspective as well, what would make the day easiest for me and for Andrew and what would make it most enjoyable for us.
That's amazing. So when you first started looking at suppliers, and I don't mean just photography and videography, but what did you, pay most attention to, or what were some of the things that were most important to you when deciding, and also did you talk with multiple suppliers from, maybe for photography, for example, let's say. I know you said you looked us up and you wanted, to inquire right away, but were you considering, emailing other options? And, what was important to you that you were like, okay, this is it. I found the right choice for suppliers.
Yes, absolutely. I think for me personally, I knew immediately the venue. It was actually my best friend Avril who had the first wedding in Cashel Palace after the manor had just been newly restored. And I remember we walked into the ballroom. This is before Andrew and I were ever engaged, and Andrew just turned to me and said, "Oh my God, I would get married here." And the band that Avril had and the cake. So it was from actually being at Avril's I suppose Anthony was there as well. So at Avril and Anthony's wedding, it was seeing that, in real life, helped me make my decisions. And also being from Tipperary, there was an element there for me that I would like my suppliers to be within the locality.
Yeah.
So Tony, my florist, and also Julie, who was the head baker at Fox and the Flower. I actually went to school with her.
Wow.
Yes, so we studied home economics together. So there were elements for me.
Stunning.
Oh, she nailed the brief. Yeah, she did.
Beautiful.
Thank you. No, they absolutely nailed the brief. So for me, there was an element of keeping it, local, using local suppliers, and also Dawn, who did my beautiful makeup. Dawn did my makeup when I was bridesmaid for Maeve, who was also my bridesmaid for her wedding. So it was having experience with suppliers that my friends have used. And I think, as brides, as couples, we all kind of get married in around the same year. So a lot of brides, would talk to each other, and we'd kind of tend to use the suppliers that our friends have used or who have worked with, and going through recommendations from our friends is huge.
Yeah. Word of mouth.
Yes, absolutely is huge. And then from there, I think it's the social media portfolios and the website portfolios. Yeah.
Okay. And if you don't mind me asking, Zoe, how big was budget in terms of when you were making decisions? Were you willing to, increase a little depending on the supplier? Were you and Andrew, good with your budget?
Coming back to the three main things that we were looking for was the venue, the band, and the photographer. So we had obviously a certain budget. Also aware that we wanted a house in the future, so we were mindful of where we wanted to spend our money.
Yeah.
So there were
smart.
Well, and I think personally, I'm quite a minimalistic person by nature anyway, that I felt the Cashel Palace is so exquisite as it is.
Yeah.
And just with my
That
beautiful floors,
ballroom.
yes, like I just felt I don't need to do anything here, except for our flowers. So really, we kind of just utilized what we had, utilized the venue, what the venue had to offer. And we did increase budgets on elements that mattered the most to us. But we didn't kind of we didn't go too overboard on any particular thing. Again, coming back to, we just want our guests to have a really good time.
Yeah, and they did. They really did. You got such a beautiful day.
We were so lucky. Yes.
Everyone was outside with the view. I mean, you have the Rock of Cashel as entertainment for people to look
as a backdrop.
It's
Absolutely.
just incredible. Yes. I mean, I remember everybody just having such a great time. It made our job so easy because there were people inside in that gorgeous drawing room grabbing champagne, and then everyone outside just having such a great time, enjoying the sun, walking through the gardens. It was beautiful. I always go back to this, and sometimes we have emails with our upcoming couples. And one question that comes up over and over again is they're like, I don't know how I'll photograph. I don't know. I'm a little bit self-conscious. I don't know how to make those photos as your portfolio. And I always go back to them and I tell them, this is not your job. Leave that to me.
Yeah.
To me and Dan, your job is to have the best time of your life. Enjoy the morning with the people that are getting ready with you. Enjoy getting dressed up. Enjoy the ceremony. Have a blast during cocktail hour. Enjoy every minute of it. And then the photographs, if you leave that with us, the photo and video, we will make sure that, if you need a bit of guidance, how much posing you need, we'll do that. But I often go back to, if you just enjoy yourself, the photographs will come out beautiful.
Yes, and I think you just have an incredible eye to capture all of that there's some photos there that I don't even remember being taken, and they're some of my favorites.
So before the wedding, what did you expect from your suppliers? And then after the wedding, what actually mattered most to you? And Andrew, maybe if Andrew has shared anything.
Coming back to what I said earlier, I guess when you're initially booking suppliers, you have a certain vision and you just kind of think of the finished product, but it's actually how the suppliers make you feel, and it's working with them. Really, I think just exceeded our expectations in that sense. It was just that little bit going above and beyond and how they made me feel on the day. And that is what I'll always remember.
And was there anything that you thought mattered, and then in the end you were like, that doesn't actually matter that much?
As a bride, you get so worked up on the smallest things. It's, my hair's not long enough, or I need to do X, Y, and Z in terms of facials. And I actually got cold feet about my dress. Would you believe?
No way.
Yes. I remember I tried it on and it was just so perfect. And then we put in the order. And then I think maybe 8 months out, because it was just that little bit different, I got a little bit scared. And I then, which I would advise future brides, once you've chosen your dress, do not look at photographs. Do not unfollow all of the bridal studios. I had gotten myself so worked up that I actually had to go back to the one to try it on, just to reaffirm that no, this is the one for me. And looking back, I'm like, why did I put myself under so much pressure? And when it really ended up being just so perfect, and like the day just goes by so quickly. So that was just one moment that I'd often kind of talk to Andrew about, to say, I just wish I didn't get so kind of caught up and those little
And
things.
it's so easy to do. I know for our own as well, I ended up choosing a dress that was so different to how I thought I would
yours
choose
was
to
so
what
beautiful.
I thought I would choose. I thought I would go very sleek and plain, and I ended up wearing a huge overskirt. That at the afterwards, I was like, did I actually choose the right dress? And then I ended up unfollowing everything. But because I'm a wedding photographer, every bride I would see, I'd be like, oh, I wonder, did I make the right choice? But yeah, we get worked up by the smallest thing. I don't think Dan ever even thought about his tux at all. But you actually ended up, you loved your dress so much that you have it with you. I know you ended up...
I've redesigned
You
it.
redesigned it,
Yes.
yeah.
So there is a new sustainable startup company in the UK that would take kind of brides' dresses and redesign them that you can rewear them. So I was in Croatia there in September, and we actually detached the sheer skirt from the corset and the kind of the Tinkerbell dress, I call it. So we made a mini dress and a sheer skirt. So I've actually reworn my wedding skirt abroad. So yes, I'll be swanning around in it now in Portugal.
Incredible.
In summer.
Now, I know you said you were so lucky with the suppliers that you chose, but from your experience, what do you think some suppliers misunderstand about couples?
I think you've already touched on it a little bit, Jess. Everyone is different. So our priorities when I'm booking a supplier, that supplier, whether it be hair, makeup or photographer, might be, to me, the most important supplier. So I might have certain expectations, whereby another couple, it might not be as important. So they don't expect or they don't need as much maybe interaction. So for Andrew and I, photography was one of our big ticket items. For Andrew's brother, he was like, oh no, that just 5 photos for 10 minutes, that's fine. So I think different couples may have different expectations and have different preferences over what they want.
Yeah, that's interesting. From planning your wedding, what would be something that would put you off a supplier immediately and maybe that didn't happen to you when you were planning, but what would be something that you can think, or maybe that your friends have shared with you when they were planning their wedding that would make them go, okay, no, this is like red flag. No.
I think again, it's that first interaction piece. As a bride, it really is the biggest day of our lives. And I think as brides, we don't necessarily appreciate that our suppliers are doing this, working with so many other couples, not just me. But I think if the initial kind of interactions were maybe a little bit blunt or kind of maybe lacking in a bit of detail or kind of made to feel I've 25 weddings ahead of yours, I'll get to you when it's your turn. I think that would probably be to me a little bit maybe off-putting. But then again, I need to appreciate that there is so much work that the suppliers are doing. But I guess within the industry itself, you are, as a supplier, working with couples that it is their most important day. And those first touch points and those first impressions and interactions are kind of what nearly makes or breaks. Whereas if you were to get an email that is a bit kind of cold or, I'll get to you when it's your turn, I might be like, oh, I'm not sure about that. Yeah.
Of course. Well, I mean, when you are investing so much as well in your supplier, we photographed just last year the wedding of one of our best friends, and she's a wedding photographer as well.
I saw they were fab.
And he's a videographer. And then just hearing from her, because obviously she's my friend and she works in the business, but we treated her as exactly as she was our bride and interacted with her in the same way as I would have interacted with you. I wanted to hear from her as a bride. What are some things that you love? Tell me, what your expectations are in terms of photography. Share with me, even if it's travel photos, what catches your eye, what's important to you here. Talk to me about your relationship. Her dad and her mom were so important to her. Knowing all of these things made our job, so much easier, but also so much more enjoyable. And then she came back after and she was like, I really, from everyone that I contacted, I wanted to feel as a bride does, not just because I'm in the industry. I wanted to be on the other side and feel appreciated and feel like my wedding, is a top priority, because to me it is a top priority. And you wanted to feel like you're the only one. And I feel like, yes, we can get busy, but we should also appreciate that it is the most important time. And a lot of couples, it's, their one wedding. So this is until now, the most important time in their lives. And not only are they investing quite a bit in making it come true, but it's, they're the one time that they'll have all of the people that both of them love together. So Cashel Palace, you and I both love very much. Planning a wedding at Cashel Palace, did it change your expectations of your suppliers?
Yes, it just exceeded my expectations. Planning a wedding at the Cashel Palace, I didn't need to plan. Linda and the team, Adrian, they just did a phenomenal job just from the moment you walk in. It really is so incredible. And I think we were also lucky that our suppliers have worked. You've worked with the Cashel Palace, the Pearly Whites, our band, have played there. Tony has decorated the room there. So when suppliers have worked with each other before, it actually makes the day go so much more, smoothly, because everyone kind of knows where they need to be at certain times. And that just took, Andrew and I keep saying I keep forgetting he was at my wedding. Andrew and I just knew we had absolutely nothing to worry about. So
yeah, and that's so important, because you had so much to be thinking about, that, you chose your suppliers and you trusted them, which is also so important. And something that we always ask as well, trust us that we understand what's important to you, and let us capture it. And then it frees your head, which doesn't work that great on wedding days, to just enjoy and be with your family and actually be a part of something that you planned for so long. When you first emailed, it was a year and 3 months before your wedding. So, I mean, all of that time, you were planning your wedding. So I always tell couples, plan to enjoy, and then actually do enjoy that day, because it does go so fast.
I want to do it again.
I know, wedding blues are a real thing.
I know.
Do you think couples choose suppliers based more on what they see or how the suppliers make them feel? Or is it a bit of both?
I think initially it is the work that they've seen online, or that their friends have recommended. So I think, yes, first and foremost, it probably is the portfolios or the previous work. But as I said, it's that trust piece. It's those first impressions, and it's making the couple the couple feel comfortable. I think that's what really builds that trust.
And I think what's really interesting is what clients remember most. It isn't always what we think it is. I know even from a portfolio, I might have favorite photographs from your wedding, and then you have different photographs that are your favorite because, they mean something more to you than to me. It's not just, about the visuals or about the details. You mentioned so much about the whole experience that you felt when you were planning your wedding. So sometimes I know as a photographer, I might think, okay, we also tend to think that we're the only supplier getting booked. We may think, okay, the couple has, all of these ideas, but I'm so important. And then we sometimes forget that, it's about the whole experience, not just the day of itself, but those emails before when you're planning your wedding and just checking in and see how you're doing.
Yes.
We make it a mission to check in with couples and just see, how can we help? And, at this time, is there anything we can do for you? And then after the wedding, I do love getting messages and comments. And yes, I do have a bit of an ego that way, that I want to hear back from couples. So Zoe, before we finish, there's actually something that I would love to ask you.
Okay.
I know you have your favorite photos, but was there a moment that you loved, and then, was there a photograph that comes to mind that, you're like, okay, I loved this. And then there's this little story behind it. And if you're listening to us, we're going to show it on video, the actual photograph. So come check it out.
Now that we're talking, there's actually two. And it's not of me. It's of my brother. So my brother gave me away in place of our dad, and it was Harry walking into the bridal suite, seeing me for the first time, and just his face. I think I'm not facing the camera, but just the expression. That one definitely made me cry. And then I have to say, it's the photo that we chose for our thank you cards. And it was taken, I think, at maybe 20 to 11 at night, when my hair had fallen down, when my makeup had all worn off. But we're running down the steps of the Cashel Palace, and just whatever way you captured it, the way the dress falls, the way Andrew's looking at me, and you can just see that it's just pure happiness.
Zoe, thank you so much for sharing. Like I said at the beginning, we tend to, always only look at other suppliers and what other photographers are doing, what other videographers are doing, but we rarely stop to ask, our actual clients how their experiences with working with us in the wedding industry. So it was so insightful to speak with you. And thank you so much for your time. And we would have loved to have Andrew on it as well. Unfortunately, we just have one extra mic. Otherwise, 100% Andrew would have been on this.
And he would have loved it as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.